number of speakers who will really articulate and galvanize energy around why we, as a campaign, came out yesterday to give rise and voice to our concerns in regards to Governor Corbett signing this bill, but ultimately talk about how this impacts us moving forward as a movement. And this is certainly a movement that we're very proud of as we continue to be on the front line for truth and for justice. What I'd like to do actually is get to our first line of speakers if we can. And we're going to bring up some folks who are going to address not only the legal, but the political, and as well as other overarching ideas with regards to this movement as we go forward. So I'm actually going to bring up somebody with our campaign, Suzanne Ross, who will provide for us a legal perspective as well as some more overarching growth as well. Thank you.
Okay, so you probably have all heard a fair amount by now about this law that's being that was signed yesterday, the bill that was signed. That it's everybody has described it as very general in its silencing the potential of so-called victims of the crime. And you know, they have a funny way of describing victims. For example, Mumia, who was beaten up and nearly killed the night of the action, is not called a victim, of course. His wife, who has been without him for all these years, none of them are considered victims. The only victims are Maureen Falkner. So anybody, by their definition, that's considered a victim of a crime and that testifies that they have been caused mental anguish has the power, them or their representative, the district attorney and so on, to silence, to sue, not just to silence, to sue the person who speaks out. And it turns out, you know, they historically, come on in, there's seats over there, there are more seats, and we have more chairs, so please get a seat, everybody. So though this was aimed initially at Mumia, after his very, very moving speech at Goddard College, it targets all prisoners in Pennsylvania. That's a huge population to silence. And now prisoners and their supporters. So groups like the American Civil Liberties Union, the Center for Constitutional Rights, the National Lawyers Guild, the Abolitionist Law Center, many, many legal groups have said, what? This is beyond what you could consider even acceptable as a restraint on the First Amendment rights. And lots of people have begun to start statements. I mean, there are initial statements, but now there's a legal challenge. So Mumia and Noel Hanrahan of Prison Radio, who transmits Mumia's message to the public, have already retrained a lawyer, several lawyers, and the Abolitionist Law Center, which I believe is in Pittsburgh, is waging that fight. They listened, they were looking to Corbett's speech yesterday. How many of you here were here yesterday for the court? So some of you didn't hear it, but a lot did. Yesterday was an amazing day, wasn't it? An amazing day of resistance. So people are looking at his speech very carefully and studying the laws very carefully to craft a fight back. But the lawyers are ready and in place, and in addition to the street fight, which we know everyone's going to be involved in, there's a major, major legal battle. And this is not going to go down quietly into the night. There's no way that this law will just pass and there will be no resistance. And its implementation, I'm sure, will be delayed, though they'll try to implement it, will be delayed for a long time by all these legal moves, because you can file injunctions, you can file things to stop them from proceeding. So that's very, very important. So people should know about this legal resistance. The other thing that's very important that I wanted to say is that I would say courageously, given the atmosphere. By the way, one of the things we have to be very concerned about is not only Pennsylvania, but you know, once something fascistic like this goes down in one state, you know, some other states are going to try to copy it. And the danger of having a precedent like this set is huge, And the other thing I just want to highlight too, we all know that the police has been out of control, not only in terms of killings and arrests of young black people all over the country, not only in terms of that, but in terms of its attempt to control the dialogue. So remember just a few months ago, there was a nomination to the United States Department of Justice for the Civil Rights Commission, to head the Civil Rights Commission. Remember, you know, you have Eric Holder's head of the Department of Justice, and then the most important position within the Department of Justice is probably the Civil Rights Division, because that's the section that monitors police. That's the section that under Bobby Kennedy back in the 60s filed suits in the South and fought for the voting rights law. So that division is very, very important. So I'm sure you all remember that just a few months ago there was a huge battle because Obama had appointed someone competent, believe it or not, someone competent and someone relatively progressive who had a history of really fighting for the voting rights law, some very important victories. And you remember what happened? A huge uproar led by whom? The Fraternal Order of Police. The police in the end was able to make it impossible for him to take that job, which is outrageous when you think about it, that the police got to decide who was not going to be head of a division that was going to monitor them. The police, just think about it, let me repeat it. The police, this is the division of the Department of Justice that was going to be controlling police misconduct. And the police made sure that a competent, progressive person could not have that job. That's an unprecedented, again, power that they got. And as we look, you know, you yell about, you know, stop and frisk, you know, Ferguson, all the attempts to stop the police from just killing people in the streets. But beneath that, you also have to look at the legal precedents that are set. Move away?
Just be 3 inches away from it and you won't have
The back. Okay, is this okay better? Okay. So, in addition to the killings, they're changing laws and precedents legally so that they can decide who heads the Division of Civil Rights in the Justice Department. Outrageous. Well, now what are they doing? They decide, the police initiated this campaign going on right now, and is essentially deciding who is going to be allowed their First Amendment rights. And the police has decided that all the thousands of prisoners in Pennsylvania should not be allowed to speak unless they agree with what they're saying. So again, you know, it's, you know, you don't want to say fascism prematurely, but a friend of mine who passed, who many of you may remember, Olambe Brath, used to say, when you're next to me in the prison cell, then will you agree that it's fascism has arrived? What does it take for us to say that it's fascism? When the police runs rampant like this, not only in the streets, but in the courtrooms, in the Department of Justice, we have a police state. And I don't believe I'm exaggerating when I say that. We have a police state. Okay, so that's one of the very, very important things that's happening. On the positive side, in the House of Representatives, in the House here in Pennsylvania, it was unanimous to support this rotten bill. But in the Senate, there are a few heroic folks, and we want to mention their names because every time somebody stands up to police terror, we have to support them, cheer for it, and say more, 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 because that's what we need, people speaking up. And we know how frightening it is for a lot of people to speak up. So we want to mention some of the people all the people who stood up. There were 11 dissenters. One was Senator Shirley Kitchen from Philadelphia, Senator Vincent Hughes from Philadelphia, Senator Anthony Williams from Philadelphia, Senator Larry Farnese from Philadelphia. Senator Jay Costa from Allegheny County, Senator Andy Denneman from Chester County, Senator Jim Furlow from Allegheny County, Senator Wayne Fontana, Allegheny County, Senator Dalen Leach Montgomery County, Senator Judith Swank. Berks County, Senator Ron Teplitz. York, Dauphin County, I may be mispronouncing them. And then 2 people abstained, we don't know why, Leanna Washington and Mike Brubaker. So particularly on the ones who actually voted no, right on to those we need more. If you catch their names, we will have the list available for you and are willing and able to jot a note to them and say, I, as a constituent in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania, really appreciate your courage. That would be wonderful. We need all the support we can get and encourage all the courage. Encourage people to take a courageous stand and say no to police terror, no to fascist inroads. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne. And one of the main connectors that we wanted to make sure that we connected yesterday was the intersection of what's happening right now with police terror, along with what's happening in Ferguson, and looking at overall police brutality and police murders. And the good thing about it is one sister here actually was able to travel down to Ferguson for the October Ferguson campaign, and it actually was part and parcel of making the connection of how can we support folks in Ferguson to what's being done on the ground with various campaigns around mass incarceration here in Pennsylvania. And Patrice Armstead works with Power. She also works with the campaign to bring Mumia home, along with several other organizations. And she'll be here to share a few words as well about not only her experience in Ferguson, but how it specifically connects to the RRA as well. So please bring up Patrice Armstead, please.
Peace. Can y'all hear me good? Because I know I can be soft-spoken at times, but I made a statement because I definitely wanted to make sure I stay focused and consistent in my message. But I also want to state that I'm here representing a supporter of the movement. So I just wanted to be clear with that. In early 2000, I read Live on Death Row by Mumia Abu-Jamal. After reading the book, I wanted to learn more about Mumia. My mother advised me that I could hear his commentaries on Brother Rob's show on Word 900 AM. I listened to his show every week just to hear Mumia's commentaries. They were always on point and addressed current events, global and local issues. But what was deep about Mumia's commentaries was the end where you could hear the sound of a jail cell closing. It was a constant reminder that the baritone voice of this activist, radio journalist, and intellectual was locked down in the belly of the beast. His commentaries forces you to think and challenge the system. Mumia's writing, speeches, and commentaries is an impressive body of work that can shape and mold the minds of young revolutionaries. The Re-Victimization Relief Act is unjust and unconstitutional. And I think the international concern, family and friends of Mumia Abu-Jamal, and the campaign to bring Mumia home for organizing 2 back-to-back events on the heels of the signing of this ludicrous and unjust act. The community, including all progressive organizations, and clergy must come out in full force and oppose this act. We cannot deny prisoners freedom of speech. The act will impact all prisoners, but we know this bill was created specifically to silence Mumia and other political prisoners that are outspoken. This Tuesday marked 1 week back from my trip to Ferguson for the Weekend of Resistance, better known as Ferguson October. Yesterday, I was thinking about the uprising in Ferguson on behalf of Mike Brown and Vonderrit Myers, and the 2 major events that I witnessed Sunday evening and Monday afternoon. Sunday around 2 a.m., thousands walked through fog and mist across a bridge to St. Louis University to hold a speak out against white supremacy and police brutality. Myers was gunned down by the police a few blocks from the university. As we marched through the campus, the youth leading The action called for students to come out of their dorms and join us. Hundreds of students joined, and one brother spoke out stating that when he attended freshman orientation, he was told that the university believes in diversity and building a strong relationship with the community. He said it did not take him long to find out that the university did not believe in diversity and had no interest in building a relationship with the community. St. Louis University sounds a lot like Temple University and other universities in urban communities. Monday morning around 8:00 a.m., everyone met at a local church around the corner from the Ferguson police station. A pep rally for the action was held by clergy, and after the rally, clergy and community members, including youth, locked arms and marched to the police station, where you had a few speeches by clergy and community members. There were a few powerful moments, and one was when a clergy member laid down and had his body outlined with the chalk to represent Mike Brown's body lying in the street for 4 hours and 23 minutes, which was the exact time the action was going to take place. Clergy collectively crossed the line and approached police and repeatedly asked them to repent for the killings of Mike Brown. While this was being repeated, the names of 300 men and women in the United States were 300 men and women in the United States that were murdered by the hands of police were called out. Clergy was arrested after they repeatedly asked the police to repent. As they were getting arrested, it began to pour down raining, and the crowd did not wither. The chants got louder, and everyone began chanting a quote by Assata Shakur, which the youth in Ferguson chant before they go out for an action. It was powerful to hear clergy chant, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains." I just want to read that again. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. To hear thousands saying that at one time was beyond powerful. I can't even put words how I felt. Clergy in Ferguson, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and across the nation have to stand bold in their faith. They have to stand against mass incarceration, police brutality, underfunded public schools, austerity, gentrification, unemployment, war crimes, homophobia, and capitalism. The struggle of today cannot be won without youth and clergy. I am challenging clergy of Philadelphia to come out of their churches, synagogues, mosques, and parishes and stand with movements such as the movement to free Mumia and progressive movements standing on the right side of justice. Be bold with your faith. Show theology in action like Dr. King did with the Civil Rights Movement. Gandhi did with the Independence Movement. Indian Independence Movement. Elijah Muhammad with the Nation of Islam. Father Paul Washington and Pastor Renee McKenzie right there in the back. Yes. In North Philadelphia and around the city, and Dorothy Day with the Catholic Worker Movement. In closing, as a community, let's collectively continue to resist and agitate. Clergy of Philadelphia, I ask, what does your faith call you to do? Thank you. Free Mumia and all political prisoners. Long live the spirit of resistance. All power to the people.
Thank you, Patrice. And I just wanted to also make sure that we highlighted some of the other signatories on our statement. They include, I think, some names that are already mentioned, including the National Lawyers Guild, the Center for Constitutional Rights, Prison Radio, Talib Kweli, Cornel West, the France Fanon Foundation out of France, MOVE, the Campaign to Bring Mumia Home, Educators for Mumia Abu Jamal, the Free Mumia Abu Jamal Coalition, NYC, the International Action Center, the Committee to Save Mumia Abu Jamal, National Jericho Movement, Students Against Mass Incarceration, Sanko for Community Empowerment, Askia Coalition, as well as the Prison Action Network, and I will name several more in the future minutes. But I do want to bring up our next speaker, who actually has been on the ground doing a lot of work, not only for the campaign, but more importantly, from the journalist side, where she writes and editorializes for Workers' World newspaper. which is distributed not only here in Philadelphia, but really all across the East Coast and around the country. Workers World is definitely one of our family members in regards to this movement, in regards to the world of journalism. So I'll bring you Betsy Fiat.
Our sister Noelle Hanrahan from Prison Radio was not able to be with us today, but I also want to give a shout out to her as one of the voices who has consistently not only brought Mumia's message to us, but those of many other prisoners across the U.S. Yesterday's signing of the Revictimization Relief Act, what many are labeling the Muzzle Mumia Law, is not the first attempt by state or local government officials to silence Mumia Abu-Jamal, an internationally celebrated, award-winning black writer and radio journalist who has written 8 books and hundreds of columns and articles while in prison. In 1996, the People's Video Network aired the prison industrial complex, an interview with Abu-Jamal. After that, the Pennsylvania State Prison Authority ruled that no prisoner in the state could be taped for television or radio. In 1997, threatened with funding cuts by then Governor Tom Ridge, Temple University canceled all Pacifica radio programming on its radio station WRTI because Democracy Now! Planned to air commentaries by Abu-Jamal. In 1999, Abu-Jamal successfully challenged an attempt by the state to prohibit him from writing after publishing his first book, Live from Death Row. And they don't seem to want to stop, but we're going to challenge them. Just as those actions intended to silence Mumia extended collective punishment to all those imprisoned by Pennsylvania, so too with this latest law, called this is a quote from Senator Dalen Lynch, it's the most extreme violation of the First Amendment imaginable. The law also threatens the rights of independent news sources to print or air what they choose. As a representative of a newspaper that regularly carries articles by Abu-Jamal, Workers World clearly sees what lies behind this latest attack on speech that makes the powers that be uncomfortable. His regular contributions on a wide variety of issues serve to enlighten our readers. Prior to his incarceration, Abu-Jamal's writings and commentaries challenged Philadelphia attacks on the MOVE organization. They exposed racism, brutality, and corruption of the Philadelphia Police Department. Abu-Jamal is credited with helping to lay the foundation for Philadelphia being one of 2 police departments indicted by the U.S. Department of Justice for brutality and corruption. In his message to Goddard College graduates, Abu-Jamal never mentioned his own case. He never said anything that could be construed as harmful or hurtful to the alleged victim. Instead, he challenged students to question the world of the 21st century and to seek answers to a world where, quote, massive wars can be launched by rumors and innuendo, where the material interests of corporations are so superior to the interests of working people. And remember, corporations are people, so saith the Supreme Court, and where the ecological threats to fresh water supplies, clean air, and the environment in American cities pulls challenges that seemed beyond arcane, end quote. His message linked Gaza, Ferguson, Iraq again, as the issues that face students and must be addressed. Abu-Jamal has become known as the voice of the voiceless. His case illustrates why prisons exist and who profits from them. Any attack on Mumia Abu-Jamal is an attack on all prisoners of this rotten system, whether confined behind prison walls or living in general population outside. Thank you.
Certainly, I just want to add just some further names that have actually also partnered with this statement. They include the Global Women's Strike, Women of Color in the Global Women's Strike, as well as Payday Men's Network have also been named as well. I want to also highlight MOVE, Laura Whitehorn, as well as the International Committee for the Freedom of the Cuban Five. Next, I actually want to bring up someone who actually was part of the collective on the front line, actually on the early side of this announcement of this Revictimization Relief Act, Decarcerate. And Decarcerate has done so much excellent work around mass incarceration and obviously to decarcerate Pennsylvania. And of course, they've been on the front line doing a lot of this work. So we're going to bring up next Lane Mullet from Decarcerate.
Great, thank you for having us here today. My name is Lane Mullet. I'm representing Decarcerate PA. Decarcerate PA is a grassroots campaign that's working to end mass incarceration in Pennsylvania. And we do this by, we do this by demanding no new prisons and end to prison construction. We believe that as long as the state continues to build prisons, jails, and detention centers, that they'll continue to fill them. By demanding decarceration, which is policies and practices that will keep people from going to prison, bring people home from prison, and keep people from going back to prison once they're released. And also, sorry, you gotta move away from the sorry. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, and also community reinvestment. So instead of investing in keeping people in cages, we want to see resources going towards housing, healthcare, education, and non-punitive programs that actually address the root causes of violence in our communities rather than making it worse. So we're here today to voice our disappointment and anger over the passage of Senate Bill 508. This bill is a clear attempt to silence not just Mamiya, but other prisoners and formerly incarcerated people who dare to speak out against the corrupt and deeply unjust prison system in the United States. This legislation is not an attempt to help victims. It is a cynical move by legislators to stop people in prison from advocating for human rights and participating in movements for social change. If this bill is allowed to stand, it will be a huge blow to the movement against mass incarceration. People inside prisons play a leading role in these struggles, and their perspectives, analysis, and strategies are essential to our work. Incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people who speak publicly, write books, contribute to newspapers, or even write for the Decarcerate PA newsletter will run the risk of legal consequences just for sharing their ideas. The state prison system in Pennsylvania costs over $2 billion a year and holds over 51,000 people in cages across the state. The vast majority are poor people and people of color. And at the same time, funding is being stripped away from our schools, healthcare, and environment. All because legislators in Harrisburg care more about what is politically expedient than about what is right. And we're not just talking about Governor Corbett and the Republicans. Every single representative in Pennsylvania voted for this bill, including representatives from Philadelphia who claim to support prisoners' rights and claim to be progressives, including Vanessa Lowry Brown, Ron Waters, Brian Sims, Sherelle Parker, and many others. And these legislators voted for SB 508 knowing that it was bad for people in prison, bad for our communities, and blatantly unconstitutional. So we're here today to say that the days of politicians rubber stamping this kind of legislation with no fear for their jobs is over. We cannot and will not sit by quietly while our comrades and our communities are under attack. We will fight this bill and any bill designed to build up the prison system. We will fight this bill and any bill designed to silence currently and formerly incarcerated people. And we'll keep fighting in Harrisburg, we're gonna fight in the courts, and we're also gonna keep fighting in the streets. So I'm proud to stand here with the other speakers and participants today, and with the political prisoners and with the thousands of men and women behind bars who continue the struggle for justice in the face of this repression. Thank you.
So as we can see, a very broad coalition has been built around this bill, and I think that it's getting the fire and the anger necessary and the passion because so many folks from various entities see how wrong it is to be implemented here in this state, in this Commonwealth. Next up, I actually want to bring up somebody who's been also very dear to the movement and to our campaign here. She opens up her doors many times for not only events regarding to political prisoners, but various other community relations as well. Pastor Renee McKenzie with the Church of the Advocate, please.
Greetings. This is a bad bill. Simply, there's no other way to describe it. It is an infringement upon the people's right to speak and it's a further attempt to silence the voice of people whose voices we need to hear even clearer. Now, I stand here certainly as part of the campaign to bring Mumia home, but it's broader than that, isn't it? This is about every political prisoner. This is about the ability of people who already have their freedoms curtailed through the justice system, but it's an attempt to curtail people's expression and therefore their thoughts. We cannot stand any more infringements, any more suppressions of our voice. They're already we see a movement to suppress the vote. We can't go back. People have fought long and hard to bring us to this place, and there cannot be retreat. Cannot be. The power of the loss of voice. You know, if Mumia had said something to those students at Goddard College that was talking about his particular case that's going on within the system, then I would say, okay, then perhaps he is trying to rub salt into the wounds. But that was not the case. He was empowering young people to think critically. What is wrong with that? Why would you want a generation of young people who don't know how to engage the controversial comments, the controversial ideas that are before us in society? There should never be an attempt to suppress our voice. And we should never allow it to happen without a fight. The bill is bad. It should not be allowed to sustain. It should receive its just due, whatever we would do it through a piece of paper that we consider trash. Keep up the fight.
I believe anytime you can have the clergy represented at something like this, that's always a wonderful time and a wonderful experience. For so long, they've been a part of our movements, and although many think that they've kind of been absent, it's always good to see Pastor Renee there, Church of the Advocate, here, and as always willing to give her time and energy to this movement. It's interesting because with our sixth speaker, it's interesting that number 6, because we're going to bring up somebody who ultimately has a personal testimony that connects specifically to this bill of Re-Victimization Relief Act. We have Sandra Delaney with the Dallas 6. So we're going to bring her please.
I just want to say solidarity to everyone on this National Day of Resistance. I'm Chandra Delaney. I am a mother and I am a warrior for my brothers and sisters that are in prison. I'm with the Abolitionist Law Center, the Human Rights Coalition, and as he said, the Justice for Dallas 6 campaign. When I stand here and talk, you don't have to like what I say or even agree with what I say, but we can all agree that it's my right to do so. Freedom of speech is a right of all Americans. You can't decide to take that away because you don't agree with the messenger or their message. I have learned in life that when someone speaks truth or has influence, that person is a target to be silenced. This bill specifically targets Mumia to be silenced because he is a prisoner who has influence. This bill is extremely oppressive and retaliatory action, and it makes no sense. Though I feel for anyone who has lost a loved one, one does not become victimized because someone has a voice and opinions that other people want to hear. This bill not only affects Mumia, but it will affect other prisoners like Dallas 6. I am the mother of Carrington Keys of the Dallas 6. These men are human and civil rights defenders, jailhouse lawyers, and whistleblowers. They have been victimized by our prison system. When faced with starvation, beatings, deprivation, and watching prisoners die by the hands of racist guards, these men decided that they would do something about it by a peaceful resistance which was met with brutal force. Just like the police are murdering and oppressing people on the streets out here, They are murdering and oppressing prisoners. $6 put their lives on the line while being held hostage in the hellhole called solitary confinement. They were buried in this hellhole, some for over 10 years, because they used their freedom of speech to expose the corruption that thousands of prisoners live under on a daily basis. They will be on trial in Luzerne, Kids for Cash County for a riot charge that has taken nearly 4.5 years to try. When I spoke to my son about the bill, he touched on an excellent point. He said, as prisoners, we are supposed to become rehabilitated, when in fact, they want to lock us up and throw away the key. By them trying to silence Mumia and all the prisoners, they are clearly showing the true nature of their thoughts toward us. They want to silence us forever, even if it means showing the true nature of their thoughts toward us. I'm sorry, even though they are clearly showing the true nature of their thoughts toward us. They want to silence us forever, even if it means taking away our freedom to speak or think. I fear for the lives of my son and the others, but I am also proud because they are all remarkable men who stand up for something. I oppose this bill because it would take away the rights of those living under the torturous conditions in our prisons to tell those on the outside about it. This bill would take away the right for me to stand up here and tell you about it. This bill would take away the voice of the wrongfully convicted who have no other voice. This bill is more about racism and oppression than it is about victimization. This bill is about silencing those that speak the truth, those that have positive influence, and those that expose the injustices of our corrupt society. Furthermore, it is quite clear that Corbett wants to keep his job. I'm here to tell Corbett, pack your bags and pack the bill in it. Thank you. I actually have one of the $6 here. He made it out because he maxed out, and he's here to speak a little bit about the situation. His name is Derek Stanley.
How y'all doing? Y'all caught me off guard, but this is my pleasure. It ain't really happy being out here after being incarcerated for so long, but I guess because this particular case is hanging on my head, I've been fighting this case for like 5 years along with my co-defendants, the $6. And the stuff I've been through in there, dealing with people, the people that got their lives in your hands, and you trust these people being incarcerated in a hole. People that to handle your mail, your food, stuff like that. And you see they like true colors. I used to gravitate towards authority and different type of people, because you trusted them, stuff like that. You trusted the law, you trusted authority. Then you see their true colors. It turns you and makes you some type of way. After much times I did in there and the stuff I've been through, a lot of people compliment me on not being hateful, but I seen that the hate just destroyed myself from the inside. So I learned to be able to understand things, understand people and stuff like that. But like they were saying, like the freedom, they took that, when I was in it, as far as my particular case, the $6, speaking up, they ain't allowing that, the law enforcement, the guards in there, about them messing with our mail, and they had the food, defecating in your food, urine in your food, your coffee in the morning. I wake up on Thanksgiving, thinking it's Thanksgiving in the hole because I want to mind my business, about what they doing to other people, burning them for trees for days and days and days. Me putting in grievances to try to resolve the matter, the proper way and stuff like that. They don't care about that. It's just just talking about this stuff does something to me. So, on Thanksgiving, being in a hole, and I see the stuff they do to other people. By me speaking up, on somebody else's behalf, they come to me. Look, you want to go home? You want to get out of here? Mind your business. And these are the deputies, the warden and stuff like that. And I'm like, hold up, what y'all doing is wrong. Man, we ain't trying to hear that. You want to go home? Huh? But anyway, you know, by me speaking up, they did something real vicious to me, like, you know, along with the Dallas 6 situation and stuff like that. On Thanksgiving, it was Thanksgiving, I thought I had, you know, they brought me my tray. I thought, you know, I was all happy, you know, to get Thanksgiving meal. But, you know, inside the tray, I was great to eat, and they was like, that's not, I said, you know, they got fudge balls. They were like, nah, they ain't fudge balls, my man. Look at your tray. The overhead said next door. It was defecation in the trays. I thought it was fudge balls. But that stuff will mess with your psyche. You know what I mean? After seeing this stuff day in and day out, you trusting these people, they reading your mail to other people. Oh, it was a mistake. We gave you mail to such and such. Blah, blah, blah. You got visit. I go out to go to visit because I'm a mind my business. I go out to go to visit in shackles and handcuffs. They throw me off the chair, beat me down, you know, stuff like that. Can't even trust them. Oh, you got visit? Oh, well, I don't care. I ain't going to visit, man. I don't even trust you to come out myself for showers. But anyway, like, you know, in this particular case of the Dallas 6, you know, when you speak up about the stuff that they're doing and you try to understand about, you know, treating other people inhumane, defecating in their food, beating them down, causing people to commit suicide, another dude psychologically ill, he depending on these people with his life in their hand. Kill yourself. We don't care, you know what I mean, stuff like that. That stuff does something to you. So, like, now I'm out here, and I see the same stuff out here, you know, dealing with the cops. Like, I got, you know, be driving around. It don't change. And then when you, like, you don't mind your business, you speak up against it, things get worse. They make, you know what I mean, things worse for you. But it's like, once you be through hell, it's like it don't even matter now. You know, you stand up, and you know, it feel good to stand up and speak for, you know what I mean, for something, just to, you know, before I go, you know, for anything. But now I understand that, you know, as us being humane, right, that right there make me feel good to, you know, just speak up, you know, against stuff like that. You know, that I hate them. I'm a strict opponent. I don't hate authority, but I'm a strict opponent against the tyranny of authority. At their discretion, like I tell the cops when they put guns in my head, stuff like that, you got the discretion to do right and wrong. It's up to you individually to do wrong. I mean, you know, do it. Whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna do. But the thing is, though, I mean, it emotionally affects me, y'all. I don't really know what to say in this situation, but I'm just glad to be out here and be able to fight for the other people. We got a case coming up November 10th in reference to the Dallas 6, you know, and it ain't just about the Dallas 6, it's about humanity, you know, the common courtesy, the way you treat other people. When you got the power in your hand to treat them that way, whether you're a parent or, you know, in a relationship, I see that a lot of people abuse the authority, and I'm a strict opponent against that. That's why when I look at the way other people treat people, talk to people, I make sure that I don't fall down to that level, you know what I mean? No matter, you know, what be done to you, you know. I got the hiccups, y'all got skills. But anyway, that's all I got to say about this particular. But I'm just saying we need your love and support. November 10th, Missouri County, and I appreciate it if you already know me.
I just want to let everybody know we have a press conference. Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know we have a press conference on Friday. The location is to be announced, but it'll be at 12:30 on Friday. Then on Friday we have an event at Tabernacle United Church from 6 to 8, and it will be myself speaking, Derek Stanley, and another person named Isaac Sanchez, who was tortured at Dallas as well.
Thanks again, y'all.
Again, nothing better than having a personal testimony right from the horse's mouth can provide us with some context for what we're dealing with right now. I want to actually close this out actually with somebody who I think can really speak to what re-victimization really is. Also, somebody who for the past 29 years, going on 30 years next year, has had to deal with the ramifications of the bombing of MOVE. May 13th, 85. Next year will be 30 years. It's hard to imagine that. And the sister here will definitely speak truth to power in regards to this act and how it affects her and her family and her organizers within MOVE. Ramona Africa, y'all.
On the move. Long live revolution. Long live Mumia for being strong. Because Mumia's position is, oh, y'all passing a bill that says
that I can be sued for telling the truth, Mumia's position is, come on with it. Come on with it. I don't care. Take me to court. And that's the position he should have. We have to learn to disarm these people. They think they can intimidate and bully people into being passive and submissive. That has never been Moo's position. Moo's position has always been, our motto has always been, we fight back. You come at us, we fight back. And that was the theme of yesterday's rally at 13th and Locust. You know, we're under attack. What do? Stand up and fight back. That has to be more than words with us. We have to mean it and demonstrate it. Because as long as these people, our enemy, picks up any kind of intimidation and passiveness in us, they will come at you like nobody's business. But they are bullies and cowards. And everybody knows how a coward is. They'll try to bully you and you know, come after you until you stand up and fight back. Then they run away. You know, then they're like, oh, you know, I done bit off more than I can chew. Whatever. We have to be ready, be prepared to always defend ourselves. This Revictimization Relief Act, it's more than just a piece of paper. You know, it's an attack on the people. They can't take away our freedom of speech if we don't let them. If we don't let them. There is nothing that they can do. All they can do is have a piece of paper. But if we don't acknowledge it and we do what we gotta do, hey, you know, they are powerless. The power is truly within the people. We have the power. And they know that. They know that. We got to know it and demonstrate it. You know, these people came at MOVE with everything they got, including a bomb. Burnt our babies alive. But that didn't stop us. You know, we feel it till this day. We grieve for our family. But we use that grief to come back even harder. We use it to generate the energy we need to fight these foul misfits that don't care nothing about people, about life. They don't care. We have to care. You know, people believe in electoral politics and vote for, you know, officials. Well, that's not MOVE's belief. But if that's your belief, then don't just give away your vote. If you vote for these people, then you stand behind that vote and make sure that they really do represent you. That vote in the House of Representatives, people should be outraged. They should be outraged, and they should be flooding the offices of those elected officials with phone calls, emails, even visits, asking them what the hell do they think they're doing? How could they do that? And this isn't the first example we've had of these officials doing stuff like this. I remember when the state troopers went crazy about Asada and put $1 million bounty on her and then raised it to $2 million. And they were trying to get Asada extradited back to the U.S. from Cuba. And there was a resolution introduced in the Congress. And all these elected officials, you know, these black elected officials even, they signed their name to it. They voted for it. Bobby Rush, former Panther, you know, and they're talking about, we weren't clear that Joanne Chesimard was Assata Shakur. First of all, that's a lie. But, all right, I'll give that to you. If you didn't know, why didn't you know? Why didn't you? You know, I'm saying we got to stop looking to these elected officials for anything, and we have to do what we have to do. Understand the power we have. Flex that muscle. You know, our very lives depend on it. The lives and freedom of our children depend on it. You want to know why I move, fight so uncompromisingly? That's my family over there. Stand up, y'all. Stand up. You see these young brothers and sisters here? That's why we continue to fight and stand strong for ourselves and for them. And for them. Our brother Mike Africa there was born in prison right after the first police attack on Move under Rizzo in 1978. His parents are still in jail 36 years later. You want to know why we continue to fight and stand strong and come at these people despite all they have come at us with? Because John Africa have taught us that you are only defeated when you throw your hands up and give up. No matter what the circumstances are that you may be facing, you are victorious as long as you keep fighting, keep resisting. But the instant you say, oh, what the hell, ain't no use, and throw your hands up, then you're defeated. Then you're done. So I'm telling you what John Africa have told us, the example John Africa have set with Move. Don't ever give in or give up. Fight for what you know is right. And don't let anybody, I don't care what kind of position they got, how much money they got, what kind of social standing they got, don't accept wrong from anybody. Mumia doesn't. Mumia doesn't. That's why he's still speaking out. So stand strong, stay on the move, keep fighting, don't ever give in. Long live Mumia. Long live the Move 9. Long live all political prisoners. Long live the spirit of resistance that you see in Earth First, the Animal Liberation Front, you know, that you see in the indigenous movement, the Zapatistas, the Puerto Rican independence movement. That's who we need to look to. That's who we need to look to. On the move, long live John Africa, long live revolution, and down with this rotten ass system. On the move.